Hey guys, it's the Insane Machine Cody Hawkins, and you're watching WGS-TV.
Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of WGS-TV right here on youtube.com/WrestleGamer and ZFX-TV. On WB I've got a couple of guys to introduce you to. First off, he is the host of Hardcore Wrestling Radio, which can be heard over on Spreaker.com. It's the Illuminous one, the Shining Star, Rick Starr. Rick, how you shining?
I'm shining pretty good, Billy. Thanks for having me.
Our resident music mogul is here from Lance Moss TV on YouTube. The one, the only, Mr. Lance Moss. Lance, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to be talking about Friday Night Smackdown for the week of May 10th, 2013. Now, we open up this week's Friday Night Smackdown with the highlight reel. Chris Jericho interviewing Ryback, apparently kind of pushing the issue with Ryback. Jericho saying about, if Ryback really wants to earn the respect, he would do it legitimately instead of being a coward. And then that prompts Teddy Long. Now, for the second week in a row, we see Teddy Long out there on Friday Night SmackDown making these big decisions with no word from Booker T. Now, I don't know, Rick, has there been any reports about Booker T's absence? Why he hasn't been there on SmackDown the past couple of weeks?
No, I have no idea.
His mistress, Lilith,
he really stunk as commentators, and I think people started to realize that he stunk as a manager role. So he's just, I think they decided to take him off the TV altogether.
Well, Teddy Long makes the announcement that the main event for this week's Friday Night SmackDown would be Chris Jericho versus Ryback. And as soon as that announcement was made, Ryback sucker punches Chris Jericho. I'm going to give the opening segment a 4 out of 5. When you get Jericho on the microphone, no matter what, especially in the highlight reel, you always get something good and golden, and you did get that with Jericho. Ryback, not so much, but Jericho was really doing it. And I think WWE, again, with it being on Friday Night SmackDown, is the fact that they really were piping in the boos. I don't know if the fans were actually booing Ryback as loudly as they were on tonight's Friday Night SmackDown, but they really piped them in quite loud. Now, opening matchup on this week's Friday Night SmackDown, Rick, saw the involvement of the United States Champion Kofi Kingston and Cody Rhodes. And I will say this, I did notice that the commentary in this match, a lot of it was focused around the birth of Kofi's child, saying about how much it's changed his life so much, Rick.
I did notice that a little bit, but I was more focused on the match. Which was a really excellent match. I even noticed that Cody Rhodes, for a moment I thought he might have actually gotten the win. He had close to executing the crossroads, but unfortunately Kofi had reversed it. Then Cody Rhodes was getting ready to come off the ropes with the disaster kicks, and that's when Kofi Kingston came off with his own move, which was Trouble in Paradise, and then got the win. And it was still a great match overall. I'd have to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
I'm going to bump it up to 4 because I think the finish of it was quite exciting. Even though we did see it coming, but the fact of the matter is they really got the crowd into it, in my opinion. And I thought they really didn't do anything bad, honestly. And I thought they did really well. But and next up was a matchup that was kind of made in reference to what happened on Monday Night Raw. It's Jack Swagger taking on Big E Langston. Because you remember, Big E Langston threw Del Rio onto Jack Swagger, who was sitting there at ringside. And then next, Jack Swagger gets up, and before he attacks Del Rio, he sends Big E Langston into the ring post. So apparently they wanted to continue this. But then Del Rio was on commentary, and Del Rio then jumps off of commentary, grabs a ladder from underneath the ring, and then throws it into the ring and kind of make it look like, hey, guys, you know what? You have a ladder. Go ahead and use it. And Ziggler tries to grab it and then gets kicked right in the face by Jack Swagger for his troubles. And then a big tug of war starts going on between between Swagger and Big E Langston. And Zeb Colter thought he'd get in a shot. That really didn't pan out too well. But then next, Ziggler comes back in, and then Del Rio gets involved, and again, Dolph Ziggler received another vicious ladder bump, somewhat similar to what he did on Monday Night Raw. Not quite as vicious as what Swagger did, but it was still kind of it was very, very hard bump. Now, there have been news reports about the condition of Dolph Ziggler and what's been going on. We will cover that in a later video and give you guys our thoughts as to what might happen and so on and so forth. So be sure you look for that video. As far as this segment goes, I was really looking forward to a match. I really wanted to see, even though it would be heel versus heel, Swagger versus Langston, I really wanted to see how Langston would handle himself against someone like Swagger, who's not really that much of a pushover. Now, albeit he's not that big of a superstar, but Swagger is far beyond a jobber, in my opinion. If they push him for the World Heavyweight Championship, yeah, you're not a jobber, but as far as I'm concerned, I really wanted to see a matchup, and that's my only gripe. That's my only gripe, that we didn't actually get to see a legitimate match between Swagger and Langston. I really wanted to see how they would pan that out. So I'm just going to bump it down to 3.5 out of 5. But Rick, up next, the issues continue between The Shield and Team Hell No, as we saw in a one-on-one contest. Dean Ambrose and Daniel Bryan, two men who a lot of people might consider to be possibly the future of wrestling in the WWE.
I absolutely have to agree. This was a phenomenal match, and I'm going to tell you, we've been talking mostly in private about the WWE, about how there's a lot of wrestlers now, like some of the top stars who are kind of like being out. People like CM Punk, people injured like John Cena, and also people like we just talked about, Dolph Ziggler. And they're going to need some new champions in the future, and definitely, Dean Ambrose and Daniel Bryan are certainly two people on those top of that list, especially for the quick, if you want to need the quickly development. And this match certainly showed that. They've been putting Dean Ambrose in with people with Kane, The Undertaker, showing him that he can tangle with some of the very top best, the best of the best. And this, Daniel Bryan, of course, also former world championship in his own right. He had an excellent match. Kofi Kingston kind of came down in the match, which kind of puzzled me. I know that he kind of had issues with it, but the match kind of broke down, which with the Shield matches they kind of always do. But nonetheless, I still have to give this match a 4 out of 5.
I have to agree, but I got a question. Now that they brought out Kofi Kingston, now think about this. You got Team Hell No with the tag team titles, and Kofi Kingston with the United States title. Could it be possible that we're looking at a 6-man for both championships on the line?
That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing that's what they're heading for at least for Extreme Rules, where I would have liked to at least seen Kofi defend his title at Extreme Rules, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Lance, what do you think?
I don't. Have they ever done that in WWE?
I know they've done that with when they had an intergender match with the. I think it might have been the Intercontinental title on the line and the Women's Championship on the line. I forget against who it was for, but I do remember seeing that happen.
That would definitely be a very interesting match to watch, honestly.
Definitely. Well, Lance, up next we see Mark Henry actually go and attempt to set a new world record by towing just exactly what?
It looked like 2 semi-trailers.
Yes.
Or semis, and did it quite impressively, honestly. Well, I had a little trouble at the beginning, and then got to a certain distance he had to set the record, so yeah.
That was indeed an impressive feat here. How would you score that segment?
Well, on a wrestling show, honestly, probably about a 3 out of 5, because, well, it's a wrestling show, not a strongman show.
Well, you got a point there. You definitely do. But up next, we had Big Show and Tensai, or a.k.a. Sweet Tea, of Tons of Funk. And, this was basically, I want to say about a 3-minute match, because Big Show just out of nowhere hits the knockout punch right off the bat, and then looks like he was going for it on Brodus Clay, and before he had a chance to, Randy Orton came out and gives Big Show that RKO. So I'm going to go 3.5 out of 5 on that very short segment. But I think one of the main things to think about when it comes to Big Show and Randy Orton, Rick, I believe you said it, that it was confirmed on WWE.com that Big Show versus Randy Orton will be an Extreme Rules match.
Yeah, well, if you even listen to them on, on Friday Night Smackdown, they were even saying, on Friday night, at Sunday at Extreme Rules, under Extreme Rules conditions. They were even saying it, so it's, yeah. So it was at the pay-per-view, it's on WWE.com, and they were talking about it, on SmackDown. But I have to admit that segment, I wouldn't even give it, I'd give it a 3.0 for myself. But
so you would split the difference.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about the main event on this week's Friday Night Smackdown, which saw Y2J versus Jericho taking on Ryback for the very first time. Now, when we had the chance to see a main event involving Ryback, it was Ryback and Kane on a Monday Night Raw, and unbelievably, that was a snooze fest. But with Ryback and Jericho, Rick, to me, I believe it was actually quite better than Ryback and Kane.
Absolutely. One thing about Jericho, and every time he has a match, you can rest assured it's going to be an excellent match. He very rarely disappoints.
Lance, at one point in this match, we saw Jericho counter the shell shock into the walls of Jericho, or you called it or just a plain Boston Crab, because that was what it was. But at that point in time, the crowd there on Friday Night Smackdown, they didn't even have to pipe it in, Lance. I mean, they were going nuts. What were your reactions to that?
Wow, just because at one point they weren't giving Ryback that much heat, but then they turned the heat up. But yeah, I was like, dang.
Definitely. The finish of the match came Jericho and Ryback on the outside, and then Ryback picks up Jericho like he's going for a side salto, and then just rams him crotch first into the steel post, which caused the automatic disqualification of Ryback. And then as Jericho was recovering, and it looked like Ryback was heading back, he turns around, heads back towards Jericho, and then gives him the meat hook over the table, and that's how they pretty much end Friday Night Smackdown. So I will say this, at least this was a lot better to watch than Ryback and Kane on Monday Night Raw. Ryback and Kane on Monday Night Raw, you couldn't even call that a main event, Rick.
No, not at all. And another thing I did want to comment on is that we did know that one of the commentators was kind of turning a little bit heelish. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, Josh Matthews was really getting on Cena's case. They were talking about the possibilities of who was going to come out on top in the last man standing match, and Josh Matthews was dead set on Ryback becoming the champion. I mean, to me, that was like Josh Matthews really coming out as a Cena hater on commentary, Lance, wouldn't you think?
Oh, definitely. Because, as we all know, they pushed Cena to the moon and back, and for a commentator to do that is unheard of.
Well,
to go against Cena is unheard of in WWE.
I have a quick question. Now, I'm wondering, is the reason the last time they had a heel, a commentator turn heel, and that was Cole. Now, everybody knows fact that Cole and Cena are really friends behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So maybe they figured maybe they would have somebody else do it because it was, somebody like a newer face.
But why not JBL though? JBL experience. Yeah. JBL much better speaker than Josh Matthews. I mean, no offense to Josh Matthews.
And they have a rivalry in the past.
True. But you know what, though? For him to go against Cena, it would have been the obvious. I think so to have somebody like, oh, who's this? Why is he hating on Cena? I think it would cause a little bit more discussion. It would cause a little bit more. If it was just JBL, it would have just been like, oh, JBL's just being JBL. Yeah. See what I'm saying? It's causing a little bit more discussion. It's causing a little bit more interest.
Well, the main event's going to get a 4 out of 5. Overall score on this week's Friday Night Smackdown from me is going to get a 3.75 out of 5. Pretty much the same score as possibly Impact Wrestling from earlier this week. The opening with the highlight reel, Chris Jericho and Ryback, I thought it was really well done, except for the typical Teddy Long thing. Kofi Kingston and Cody Rhodes was a great match. With the segment with Del Rio, Swagger, Ziggler, and Langston, it was really well done. My only gripe is the fact that we really didn't get to see a legitimate match between Langston and Swagger, because I really wanted to see how Langston would handle himself against someone like Swagger. Then we had Ambrose and Daniel Bryan. I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again, quite possibly the future of wrestling in WWE with these two. And then possibly the of 2 titles being defended in a 6-man tag is really not that unfeasible if you think about it. And Mark Henry setting the world record, for what, one, yeah, it's impressive. 2, it's a wrestling show. I mean, what's the point? But I guess it's to prove the moniker that he is the world's strongest man. Big Show and Tensai, that didn't last. I've seen Divas matches last longer than that. Speaking of Divas, just going to make a note very quickly. They had yet another segment involving Caitlyn and the Secret Admirer. This time it was AJ approaching her, and then they were kind of making some remarks. And then for the life, and the tie came up to kind of stand by Caitlyn, and AJ took off. And then for the life of me, I don't know why. At first, when Kali comes into the camera, he's wearing a Rey Mysterio mask. And then when he comes back into camera the second time, he's wearing a Cody Rhodes mustache. Why? I don't know. Please don't ask. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. That's all I'm going to say about that. The main event with Chris Jericho and Ryback, again, was a lot better than the main event from Monday Night Raw involving Ryback and Game. That's all I'm going to say about that. So my overall score, Rick, is a 4 out of 5 from me. What about you, Rick? What is your overall score and thoughts?
This week's SmackDown was really actually very, real nice to watch. It was, not actually a lot better than last week. Yeah, I'd say a 4 out of 5. Fair assessment.
And Lance, from what you saw, because I know you didn't get the opportunity to see all of Friday Night Smackdown, but what's your assessment from what you saw?
Definitely 4 out of 5.
All right, cool. Well, what we want to know now from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers, your thoughts on Friday Night Smackdown this week. Be sure to put your comments in the comment section below as I learn how to talk, and don't forget to like and favorite this video. And don't forget to check out Rick over at Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Rick, where can the fans check you out?
Of course, they can find me over at my Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Hardcore Wrestling Radio. And of course, anytime you want to listen to our shows, we are over at Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com/HWR Media.
Lance, what can fans expect to see when they go to your YouTube channel at Lance Moss TV?
Wrestling reviews, some album reviews, music documentary reviews, and pretty much anything else I can think of.
Also, don't forget to please subscribe to youtube.com/WrestleGamer and youtube.com/ZFXTV Network. So for the Illuminous one, the Shining Star, Rick Starr, and Lance Moss of Lance Moss TV, I'm Double B Billy Boudreaux, saying thank you very much for watching. We also like to remind everyone that tonight's commentary has been brought to you by Mark Henry's Tow Truck Service, the guaranteed tow without the truck.
Stone Concerts. Stone Concerts. Stone Concerts. Stone Concerts. Spiritual speaking. Stone Concerts. Stone Concerts. I'm Haley Ringrose. Stone Concerts.
My name's Andrew Weatherall.
Spiritual speaking. Stoke Concerts.